Hey, everybody. Welcome to Contractor Radio. I am your host, the Contractor Coach, Jim Johnson, also the head coach at Contractor Coach Pro, where we help contractors lead their businesses better so they can scale them and hopefully achieve that personal and financial freedom they were looking for whenever they started their business. If that sounds like something that you want to do, just hop on over to our website at contractorcoachpro.com, click on the assessment button. You'll do an assessment of your full entire business. And from that assessment, we'll have some information on you so we don't have to ask you a bunch of questions. We can actually do a coaching call with you, not a sales pitch, but a real coaching call. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And the worst thing that could happen is you get some good advice for the next 2 or 3 steps. Maybe the best thing that could happen is you decide we're a good fit for coaching and we would love to work with you. Either way, we want to serve you well because that's what we do here in the home service contracting industry. And serving you well, we're going to talk today with a guy that's been doing it for quite a long time. He's a really good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. He's actually been an MC and he's announced me at shows before. Once I heard his excitement in his voice, I was like, dude, you got to introduce me for this thing I'm going to speak at. And he's gotten to do some of that kind of work. It's been kind of cool to watch over the years as he's grown. And I'm excited to talk to him because the service that he works for, I actually used this year. I intentionally had Allstate as my insurance company, knowing that at some point I was going to have a hailstorm and that I would have to win. And I wanted to walk that path of what a homeowner would have to walk. And the service that he works for, Hailtrace, helped me navigate that. And we'll tell that story at the end. So hang out for the entire show. But without further ado, I want to bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Grassmyer. Grassmyer, good to see you, brother.
Oh, you're too kind, too kind. Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
You've been around for a little while now in this industry. Like you've got a reputation, and that's a good one, as far as I know, throughout the industry. So it's always good to have you on the show.
Yeah, man, it's always great talking to you, for sure. Yeah, I've been around a while. I've been in the industry since 2016. So, right at 8 years. So yeah, it's been a minute. We're approaching a decade pretty quickly. Be here before I know it.
Funny thing is, you're one of the few people I've brought back a second time. Those of you, if you like today's show, you go, hey, that Matt dude's pretty cool. You might go check out his previous episode with us called Power of Moments. We did quite a while ago because of a book that he referred to me that I thought was really valuable. Actually, it's helped me quite a bit. And Matt's just that kind of guy. He tends to be super helpful to whoever he runs across, but contractors in particular. So give us kind of the rundown, Matt. Like you've been at Hailtrace since 2016. What does that look like over the years? Now it's 8 years later, 9 years later.
Man, it's been a journey. It's been a lot of fun. In 2016, I started as, I'll put quotes around this, director of operations, because I think I was the 6th employee here. And we're just a small family-run business. Derek and Leah had, kind of started this thing, and they did their thing for a while, and then hired some meteorologists. And I don't know that we needed a director of operations at the time, so that's why I put quotes on it. So I came in and just did whatever I needed to do. But through that, I learned a ton, and helped Hailtrace grow from a 6-employee, $450,000 company to a 4.5, almost $5 million company over 6.5, almost 7 years. 30 plus employees, and just have had such a great opportunity to meet people in the industry like you, Nathan, with your team as well, Tommy, and I don't know, just because I'm so energetic and I put myself out there, I have had the opportunity to, be an MC of a few shows and be the MC of our own traveling show a few years ago. And, I guess operations has been my wheelhouse for the last 7 years, or for the first 7 years of my experience here. But now in the last year, I've moved into a new role, which is outside sales. And so I am heading up the outside sales department here at Hailtrace and all that comes with that. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot view, I guess. The short of it is operations, and that's kind of my gifting. And then now I've moved into outside sales. It's a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but
I was going to say, operations guy moving into sales. Wow, what in the world has happened in this world?
This is how I look at it. Like my role in operations was to help as many people as I could, and sales is no different. I'm just helping people. Sometimes that means getting them on a Hailtrace subscription. Sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, like if I'm helping people and I'm helping as many people as possible, and that's the frame of mind that I'm in, I'm going to be successful. Hailtrace is going to be successful. And worst case scenario, I make a new friend and I, make a connection with somebody who might need something from me, or I might, reach out to you later for something. Like we may cross paths again. Either way, I'm making friends and I'm helping as many people as I can. So,
well, it's funny. All these years, I never really asked your title. I just knew you were always like one of the key players over at Hailtrace, and I always assumed that you were kind of in the sales department because we meet at events, we hang out at events.
Yeah,
and you were always at the booth. You were always talking to people. You were always talking to them about how Hailtrace works and how it can be helpful to them. We just automatically assume like, hey, this dude's in sales. Now I understand that you were handling a lot of the operation, and that happens in a young company where we kind of jack of all trades, and we kind of get moved into what fits our talents and skill set. And for all these years, I kind of thought your talent was sales. You never had a problem talking with people. You're a hungry guy. You're helpful. You're empathetic. Like you're all those things that we're looking for in salespeople. And so, how has transition been for you?
I mean, I think at first it was a little rough because it's a lot different. There's a lot more pressure, because sales, it's like and outside sales specifically, like if I don't hunt, I don't eat. So, I think everybody that's let me back up. Everybody that works for a company is in a sense a salesperson for that company. You are part of sales in some way, whether that's, hey, who do you work for? That's a sales opportunity. I work for a company that does this. Like you're in sales. But as far as directly impacting the bottom line, my first 7 years here, my work wasn't directly contributing to sales and like revenue that's coming into the company. Now, obviously, like I am contributing to the bottom line, processes, culture, all that stuff is part of it. But then you move over to sales and it's like, if I don't get on the phone, I'm not gonna make any money. So I gotta figure this thing out. But it's been a lot of fun. And just like my first 7 years here at Hailtrace, there's a lot of things that we didn't know, and there's a lot of things that I had to figure out. So I've always been pretty good at, okay, I mean, I got Google. So let's figure this thing out. Let's use the resources at my disposal. Let's go. If I gotta call 1,000 people a day, great. Let's make that happen. I don't, because I think
I was going to say 1,000's a lot.
most salespeople will find like, yes, you do need to call, and yes, there is a volume aspect to it, but the quality of the call and the touch points is, to me, at least what I found, is way more important than the number, because I go into every interaction thinking there's really 2 ways this could go, and I'm okay with it. Well, I guess 3 ways this could go. We're going to be a good fit for you, or we're not going to be a good fit for you. If the answer is yes, great, let's get you set up. If the answer is no, cool, that's fine. The other outcome would be, do you know anybody else that this could be a good fit for? So if that's how I go into it, my feelings aren't going to get hurt, because if you got thin skin as a sales guy, you're not going to last very long, because you get told no a lot. And when I started introducing, hey, if I'm on the phone with you, hey, Jim, my name's Matt, I'm with a company called Hailtrace, and we start talking, I would love to understand you more as a company, because we're not a good fit for everybody. And if we're not a good fit for you, just tell me. That's okay. No hurt feelings here. We just move our separate ways. Love to help you any way I can. If that's getting you on Hailtrace, great. If that's pointing you in another direction, great. And that just kind of sets the tone. It's like, okay, I've got an out, and I'm not going, I'm so desperate for the sale, I've got to make the sale, and I'm going to tell you anything to get you on a Hailtrace plan.
Yeah, that's always the worry with sales guys, right? Like this has been my world for, let's see, I got started in sales truly when I was about 18. Before that I was selling, but I was an entrepreneur. I had my own landscaping business. And so I had to sell, but I didn't really understand the skill part of it. It was just relationship sales would be the best way, and pretty easy because I'm a kid trying to make my way, and most people were pretty cool with that. But as you get older and you learn more skills and all that other good stuff, you're right. You got to kind of have thick skin a little bit. People are going to tell you no. The real job is to have as few people tell you no as possible that are the right fit for you. And I think that's the important part. You really nailed something on the head there, that when it comes to sales, if you're not a fit for them and you do sell them something, all you do is do them a disservice, yourself a disservice, and they're not going to be a customer for very long. And they might end up with a bad taste in their mouth, a bad review, and all the other good stuff. And I liked how you started off with questions, like asking people what it was that they were needing in their business and trying to solve problems. And I kind of allude to that being a solution selling methodology instead of the kind of the old school hard sales methodology, where we build long lasting relationships.
Sure. I learned a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, but a few years ago, this is a very helpful piece of information. Leaders are determined by the information that they receive rather than the information that they disseminate or give other people. So if I know about you, I can sometimes make the call, hey, man, I don't know if we're a good fit for you. I don't think we are, because it doesn't sound like you actually need us. And man, sometimes people, they'll go, wait, no, I don't think that's true. I actually do need your, not that it's a mind game, but like sometimes they're like, wait, no, wait, no, what do you mean I'm not a good fit for you? I am a good fit for you. I should have Hailtrace. But if that's my mindset, and if that's a salesperson's mindset, like you're going to be way more successful, and you're not going to put yourself in a position where like a used car salesman is one that everybody thinks about. Like think about, a used car salesman, how, everybody's got that image in their head of like, this guy's going to try to twist your arm. He's going to be hounding you, do this, buy this. And nobody wants to be viewed that way. So I just view myself as a helper that just happens to have a transaction on the end of some of my conversations. So,
well, this is a whole new approach by Hailtrace too. Like for years, it is organic marketing, your
Very
hail
organic
forecast and all those things. Just the awareness of our small community of who you are, a lot of inbound leads, I would imagine, over that time, and inside sales guys being able to, follow that process. But you've identified, probably from leadership and your own input, that in order for us to scale even further and to grow as a business, we need to probably do some of this outbound sales, because funny thing is, even in our marketing and all that stuff, just a small percentage of the people that are really likely candidates for what it is that we offer hear about us, see us, are engaged on social media. They might be really busy and doing what they were doing, whatever. They don't go to events. They just haven't been exposed to you yet. And if we don't reach out and do that with them, they're never going to know about us. So what was some of the decision making that went into, like, this is a new thing for Hailtrace, right? Outbound marketing?
It is very new. We've never done anything like this because, like what you said, organically, we've been able to produce a lot of incoming leads. And with a small, workforce, we had one, maybe two sales guys for a lot of years, and the organic leads that we were able to bring in, that they don't really have time to do anything else. There were some conversations during the fall, hey, you probably a little bit more time. But even then, like as we got better at, our organic reach, even the fall, there's a good stream of leads coming in towards like, okay, I can't spend, 3-4 hours doing outbound stuff because I've got so many leads and follow-ups I got to do because I'm making sales that way. So again, forecast, all those events, like people want to know, what we think, where the hail is. And we gained a really good organic social media following. So, I mean, anytime, every day, we probably get a few leads from our forecast. Go live at noon Central Standard Time every day. Probably some leads that come in, especially March, April, May, June. We're getting some leads every day from that forecast that we do every day. But
which, if you do nothing else on an outbound sales call, leading them to the, hey, we might not be a good fit right now, but here's a link to our forecast. Here's a link to our social media. Like, this is something you should probably follow. It might add to your business.
Exactly. That's a really good point. And again, that all goes back to how you frame what you're trying to do. Are you trying to help somebody, or are you trying to sell somebody? And again, it was like a switch flipped. As soon as I was like, you know what? I'm looking at this as helping as many people as I can, then it changed everything. But within our leadership members last year, June-ish, July-ish, we started to have some vision meetings about what does the next 5-10 years look like for Hailtrace? Where do we want to be? Some of the numbers that we were, aspiring to, some of the goals that we had, just they weren't going to add up if we didn't add, there's, new products, there's expand your market share, there's lots of streams to bring in revenue, but it always came back to, if we don't go scale our market share and bring new people in, outside of the organic stuff that we're doing, we're not going to hit those numbers. And so through some conversations, myself and Derek just going through this process, like, okay, what is this going to look like? How are we going to make this happen? Kind of just came down to, okay, well, somebody's going to come in and learn this position. Somebody's going to learn Hailtrace. Somebody's going to learn a lot of the, how to talk to people. I said, let's just go. Let's go. And so I'll do it. And so end of 2022, I officially stepped into this role kind of beginning of 2023. About that time, I stepped into this new role and said, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can go hunt some accounts and some clients that have never heard of us, instead of just having everything come in. So let's scale this.
This is interesting to me. This is like super, like, because our assumption is everybody knows Hailtrace, right? What's the experience actually like? Like, as you started to reach out and started to, like, I'm sure you have a big, huge list of people that you've already interacted with somehow or another. And then you're going, okay, who else exists out there? What'd you do to find them, number one? And then what's the interaction been like back and forth? Have they been receptive? Have there been, a lot of putting the brakes down on you? What's it been like?
Good question. There's a lot of layers to that. I think first and foremost, like, knowing who you want to target, because like there's thousands of roofing companies in the United States, and so if I were to just throw a dart at a list of roofing companies, I could call one. Well, you know what? I don't want to call a roofing company in Alaska because they don't need my service. So we can eliminate, almost the entire West Coast. So you're losing Alaska, Hawaii. Let me back up. I understand that geographically, Alaska and Hawaii aren't technically the West Coast of the United States of America. Before the geography geeks try to come at me, but you lose Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, and California. There's just not a ton of hail in those states. And then you kind of come in, you got Nevada, you got Utah, Arizona, more wind over there, but then you got Idaho, Montana. So geographically, you can kind of fix, okay, what are the areas? Obviously, Texas, Oklahoma, and Colorado. Those are like the three main states for us, right? And what I found, because it's interesting, you go, okay, probably everybody in Dallas has heard of us. Man, not even close. I would say less than 20% of Dallas roofing companies like know who we are. Now, obviously that is a guess, but like there's so many roofing companies in Dallas who have no idea who we are. And that's been very interesting. It's very eye-opening to think. Like,
eye-opening and opportunity creating, it seems like to me.
A lot of opportunity. So the first thing that I did was come up with an ideal client profile. Like, who are the people that we want that will use Hailtrace, that we can, sell our product to, or that would be a good fit for our product. And that kind of came in, and I kind of, I guess, just put that together and, did a lot of filters and found a list of people who, are out there. And then you got to filter them against our system and see, are they already customers? Once you do that, man, you start calling people. And to your question about what's the response, it's probably a mixed bag. Like, there are some people that, what's interesting, there are some people that have heard of us, but they've just never thought to reach out, or thought they needed to reach out. And so there are some conversations where it's like, hey, have you ever heard of Hailtrace? I typically will ask that in some form or fashion in the conversation. And some people, we've just never needed Hailtrace. The guy who is just, the guy who lives in Austin, who gets a 5-star hailstorm.
What makes you say that is my next question.
Well, so if in the context, if I live in Austin and a 5-star event happens on September 24th, and the entire town of Austin, Georgetown, just gets pummeled with 4.5-inch hail, do I really need a hail map to let me know where all the hail?
Well, let's take a step back for just a second, because we're assuming right now that all of our listeners know what Hailtrace is, and we got a wide variety of listeners. So explain just real quick what Hailtrace is and does, and why this is so valuable and important.
So this is not an official statement, but I'll tell you what I view Hailtrace as is a sales efficiency tool that specializes in forensic weather. And we help people leverage data. And to me, there's three types of data that you can leverage with Hailtrace. There's the weather data, and then there's your data, and then there's the prospective data. So the weather data, obviously, you want to know when a storm has happened in an area. You want reports for that. Like, we can help you find where areas have been impacted by severe weather, whether it's hail, wind, tornado, or hurricane. So we can help you on the weather data side, and then we can help you leverage your data. So you could literally give us a list of 100 people, 100 contacts that you have, and that, that's past customers or just anybody you have a relationship with. Anytime they're impacted by a storm, we're going to automatically send you an email with a list of all of those people that are hit by hail or wind. So if I got 100 people, 50 of them get popped by 2-inch hail, I'm going to get a list of all 50 of those people. So there's no guesswork. I don't know which one of my clients have been impacted by this storm last night. I automatically know. And then the third piece is the prospective data. You can get address specific contact data, name, address, phone, how long have they lived there? Are they the actual homeowner? You can get some really good information like that to help you understand, one, the demographic, and two, like some of the marketing or marketing strategies out there to try to put yourself in front of those people.
I have a question. How deep does the demographic data go? Does it have like home value, income, that kind of stuff? Does it have?
There is a lot of that layer to it. Yeah, there is. So you're gonna get things like obviously the contact. Well, in some cases it'll give you. Square footage will happen on like commercial. We have commercial data too. So like you could get square footage of a building on like the commercial data, but like residential data, it's going to have just your basic name, address, phone, email. It will have home value, and it will have it'll have like a median income for that like zip code. Right. And then it'll have, are they the confirmed homeowner? And then it'll have like, sometimes it'll have like auto information, like what kind of cars do they have, or what kind of cars are associated with that person.
Just in case you got to do some hail dent repair, right?
Well, we do sell to PDR companies, which is a small percentage of our customers, but they do like that information. Like, what kind of cars do they have? If it's a 2003 Toyota Corolla, probably not going to try to repair their dents.
That would be important. So that's really cool. The thing I find most important out of all that was the customers I already had. Like, I'm going to upload everybody I've ever done. And as for whatever period my workmanship warranty is. So I've got this workmanship warranty that's 5 years, maybe 10 years, whoever it may be. I'm going to keep that updated once a year, go, hey, this is what my number is. Because I would look at, this would be my approach is, you send me the data, right? Like, hey, these homeowners, and I'm going to assume it's like probably an email list and maybe a CSV file or something like that.
It's an email with a CSV file.
See, I'm going to pump that right into my automated marketing system, and I'm going to notify every homeowner that we have to set up an appointment, not that we need to or would like to or would want to, but we have to set up an appointment to verify their warranty, like to come out and go, did it survive or not? Because if it went beyond our warranty, we need to do something about that, obviously. And I would have, hopefully thousands, knowing me with the size of company I would have, we would have a lot of leads right away, just immediately.
Yeah.
That one's powerful.
Exactly. I think that's probably one of the most powerful tools we do have. And I think about it just in terms of information that you can track on customers or just connections or people relationships. Because like, if I just put in customers that I did last year, like, okay, and I did 100 roofs last year and I start with 100, there's a pretty good chance that even if they get impacted by a good storm, probably not going to need to do anything with their roof, right? But in the course of my, talking to people, if I get up on a roof and the roof is fine, like nothing needs to happen, great. One, tell the customer that. Two, put them into Hailtrace, because once they're in there, I'm going to notify you. But the key is putting the information in there that is valuable to you. So if one piece of information is the weather data, another piece of information is, when was the roof first installed? If I know that, and I know the weather date, that's really good. Then the third, if I know the roof type, if I know this is a 3-tab shingle that's 10 years old that just got hit by 4-inch hail, I'm probably going to, hey, let's go. Whoever is first to that person is probably getting that job. And so if I'm not marketing to my customers, somebody else is. So I might as well be proactive in that and say, here's my list. Like you were saying, put it into the automated marketing. Hey, when's good for us to come out? we're coming out to your neighborhood tomorrow and Wednesday. Which would you prefer?
Yeah, I see a lot of the argument of the contractor themselves. Like, dude, there was a hailstorm. I know where to go. There's hail. I don't need Hailtrace to tell me that. But what you really do need is for Hailtrace to tell you exactly where to go. The homes that you've already worked on, the homes you've already had interactions with, those are your best. And then the third one is, where's the ideal place to go? Yeah, I know hail was all over the place, but where's the best place to go? Because like you said, speed to lead wins, and speed to the right lead leads to success. Like this idea that, hey, yeah, there's a hailstorm and I'm just going to go run around like a chicken with my head cut off versus being very strategic about it. I think that's what pays for Hailtrace just in itself right there. I could pay for Hailtrace in a day for my whole year just by having the right strategy to going after the right places at the right time. Do you guys see that a lot with your customers?
Oh yeah. Oftentimes people do. I'll tell a story about a customer in Edmond. Through a 10-year career, he's never had us, never thought he needed us. He's got 10 years of experience. A few guys that work for him, throughout 10 years, and the other few guys that work for him, they had about 3,500 contacts that they'd either done a roof job for, done general contract work for, or just had done an inspection for. Storm came through April of last year. We retroactively ran his list through our system and found 1,600 contacts that were impacted by that hailstorm. And we just did a little math equation with him. What's this worth to you? His average profit margin for each roof was about $5,000 per roof, right? So if you take that times 1,600, you've got an $8 million opportunity right in front of you just with the people that you know. And I think it's important for roofing contractors to do this type of thing. Like, how does the math actually work out? Is he going to sell $8 million of that? No, he's not. But he was like, man, I'm going to be working these contacts for the next year and a half because these are people that we have good relationships with. As long as I'm reaching out to them pretty quickly and not just sitting on it for a year, we're probably going to get a large percentage of these people just because we know exactly who is impacted. And to your point earlier, like, sure. Do I need to sit in Austin and have a 4-inch hailstorm come through my town to know where hail hit? No, I could walk outside and I could see a roof across the street from me, probably with some skylights out. But am I really going to manually look for every single client that I've ever had and see if they were hit by this hailstorm? No, you're not going to have time to do that. So we've taken a guesswork out and said, here you go. You got 100 contacts in Austin. All 100 of them were hit by hail. Here you go. Go talk to them. So,
yeah, speed to lead, man. That is absolute importance whenever it comes to storm work and really any other kind of work. Like the second somebody contacts you or has a reason for you to contact them, if you do it immediately, it's top of mind. It's just that important. And it stops them from actually like looking for anybody else. Like I can imagine hailstorm hits, the guys that did my roof call me within 15 minutes and say, hey, we need to come out and look at your roof. I'm not calling anybody. I'm just going to hang out until they come look at my roof. I got my guys. Yeah. The other thing that I really like about, and we coach this a lot in our sales process, is whenever we're out canvassing and doing some of the cold stuff, whether it's a straight up cold door knock or it's a neighbor of somebody that I'm working with, I can actually like pull up their house inside of the hailstorm and say, this is your house right there. And this is the hail map. So you have had something happen. You need to get an inspection. We're inspecting every house in this neighborhood. When would you like me to do yours now? Or would you prefer for me to come back tomorrow? And it's so powerful to have just that little piece. Even if it closes 10% more sales, it more than pays for what I'm paying for Hailtrace. Do you have guys that use it like that?
Oh, for sure. I think information that is pertinent to us is always more emotionally valuable to us than just information alone. So if I'm shown, and I mean, I think this plays out across industries. This isn't specific to our industry, but if you're standing in front of my house and saying, here's your house, here's a storm, here's the swath of everybody that was hit by 2-inch hail, there's your house right in the middle of it. Let's zoom in. There you are. You got hit with 2-inch hail. That is really powerful to me. And then you can take that a step further and you can say, here, while I'm looking at your house, would you like to see every storm that's ever impacted your property? There's been 10. Like here they are. When was your roof replaced? And I've had guys tell me, like, they'll go to a house and go, yeah, I don't think anything happened to our roof. I think, it didn't really sound like a ton, so I think we're okay. And they go, when was your roof replaced? Well, the house is, the roof is same roof that was on it when it was built. Okay, when was your house built? 2006. Oh, okay. Well, did you know that you've had 13 events since 2006 at your house specifically? Oh, no, I didn't know that. Do you think it would make sense for me to get up on the roof and do an inspection? Yeah, probably. Okay, 13 events. Yeah, that one that happened the other day probably didn't do a ton, but there's probably something up there that needs to be looked at or repaired or replaced.
Well, I think we forget. Yes. I think we forget sometimes as storm restoration contractors, we assume that the homeowner knows what they need to know. And so they walk outside and they look at their house and they go, all my shingles are there, so I'm good, right? But they're not really, because of what hail does to a roof. You can't really see it from the ground. And unless you have the trained eye for it in a lot of cases, even on the roof, you can get up on the roof and go, all my shingles are here. I don't really see anything wrong. And you have all this damage to your house, unless it's just absolutely obvious, which does happen in some cases. But I would say 90% of the cases, there's damage to the roof and the homeowner doesn't even realize it.
I would take that a step further and say most homeowners don't even know that their roof was hit by hail. And I will use an example that's very personal to me. Everybody remembers COVID 2020. Everybody had to go home and work from home for at least 2-3 weeks. It didn't really matter where you were. You were at home for at least 2-3 weeks. We had a pretty good storm in my neighborhood. Well, sure. I think we're on like day 1040 of 14 days to slow the spread now. So whatever. So we had a storm in my neighborhood. I'm at home. I'm working from home. Storm happens. I take Trafford outside. He's looking at the hail. He's picking them up. He's like, "Can we save these? This is so cool." So clearly, our house has got golf ball size hail. My whole neighborhood gets golf ball size hail. Well, I was out. Me and some neighbors, we just were like, okay, government says we can't really be around each other. Let's just hang out in the street. You sit in your driveway, I'll sit in my driveway. We still need to talk to each other. So we just hang out. Hey, is your guys' roof okay from the hailstorm a few days ago? What hailstorm? You were home. You were literally home. It was during the middle of the afternoon. You guys were home. And I started asking people on my street, hey, about this specific hailstorm. I just wanted to know. Nobody knew that their house had been hit by hail.
That's wild.
I was like, okay, obviously this is speculation, but like I would say most homeowners probably don't even know that their hail or that their roof was hit by hail. If they didn't know while they were home, you think they're going to know if they're gone? Like I was at work and a hailstorm hit my house. I may not know. If I don't know, I don't know. And if you're in like Houston or San Antonio, it's really hot and the hail melts before you get home.
Oh yeah. It is wild to me, it is wild how much we assume that the other people out there in the world know what we know, and they just don't. So let's track onto something. Everybody understands what Hailtrace does now. There's been some new things that you guys have come out with over the last couple of years. One of those being the certified reports. So what does that mean? Because I really don't know, to be honest with you. Like, how is that different from the other report that you give us that's like in the app?
So the certified report is different than the one in the app. And I guess I should back up and talk about the one in the app. Within the app, you can order a automated report for any address that you click on. And it's going to give you a PDF with every event that's ever impacted that property. But when you talk about the weight of that report or the weight of reports in general in an argument about causation of damage, and I'm going to speak to something. I'm not an expert in this. I just know through talking to our clients, that is part of the process is like, okay, if we can agree that the roof is damaged, now we have to agree on how, because hail hitting a roof versus somebody taking a hammer up there and putting some dings on a roof, that's completely different conversation. Those are two completely different things. So those automated reports, they don't hold a lot of weight because it takes our information that we've already put in there and it just pulls it out. And it is what it is. It's an automated report and there's not a lot of backing to it. So the certified report is done by a meteorologist. I mean, these things are like 30-page reports. I mean, they're hours. Probably takes 2 weeks to complete these reports. And what we found with a client of ours who's an engineer, who does, and these are really geared towards more large loss commercial claims. But what he has stated is what?
I used this last year. Now I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so if I know that it's going to take 12 to 18 months with an adjuster to figure out causation, and we're going to go back and forth, it would be in my best interest as an engineer or a public adjuster or a commercial roofer to know exactly what caused this damage. So these reports help cut through that argument of causation. And our customer has told us it's cut about 18 months out of his time as he's talking through like what actually caused this thing that happened on the roof. And we're batting 1,000 for those.
So I have a question. Is there a difference between the certified reports and the forensic analysis that you got? So what's the difference between because I think I had the forensic analysis. Some meteorologist there spent forever looking at my exact property and saying, yes, this is exactly what happened here. Now I'll tell the whole story because I told everybody I was going to share this a little bit. Whenever I bought my home, we had to get new insurance. My wife did all the research. She's amazing at that. And the most affordable thing that we could get was this company called Lighthouse. And so we got that. Like, great, awesome. This is good. I think 6 months later, Lighthouse said, we don't insure in Texas anymore. And we had to go find another one. And so the next one in line was Allstate. And I went, no, no, I'm not doing that. Then I thought about it for a second. I said, well, this might be an interesting case study if I ever get to do it and share it on my podcast and kind of how this whole thing went down. And I did back almost a year ago now because the storm was on March 5th of 23. I shared that it happened, but I don't know if I've shared the results of it because it was a long drawn out battle. And so I made my claim. First off, I got to tell the whole story. This is kind of interesting. I'm at my house, and if you're in the storm damage restoration thing, you may know a guy named Dan Walrack. He sold $18.3 million 2 years ago.
He's a big teddy bear.
Yeah, he's an amazing dude. One of my best friends. I brought him into the industry 25 years ago, trained him and everything. He worked for me. And he's been in the industry for a long time. So he's built up this big following. So whenever there's a storm, everything goes really good for him. But he came down to do our Top Rep event and talk about what he does and how he does it at that event and stayed overnight with me. Well, he stayed the last night we were here and we had a hailstorm. And he woke up, I woke up, it was like 1:15 in the morning. And we're standing in the living room and we're looking, and it's like 20 feet from the glass in my living room to the outside cover of my porch, right? And I have stones of hail hitting my window 7 feet up in the air on a line drive, just coming through. They're being that hard.
And driven hail there.
Anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches. I'm like, oh man, one of these windows is going to bust and all this stuff, right? So I take video, take pictures, all that jazz. We go back to bed, wake up in the morning, and we're like, let's take a look. And sure enough, there's hail damage. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And it's all over my steel building and everything. So call, make a claim. He goes home, calls, makes a claim. They come out. What do you think they did?
I'm going to guess they said no.
Yeah, they didn't. First off, they sent a ladder assist guy. They didn't even send a real adjuster. They just sent some dude, a documenter, takes pictures.
Seems like that's right out of the playbook. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
it's out of the playbook. And I went, yeah, I know who you are. And I go, hey, look, I know you can't make the call, right? Nor are you supposed to say anything to me, but just between you and I, what do you think? Like, he goes, man, for sure, they're going to take care of this thing. And it goes in, nope, doesn't take care of it. So I call him, I say, hey, look, man, I've been on my roof. I can see it with my own eyes. And I haven't told him anything about who I am. And I said, I need a re-inspect. And I don't want a ladder assist guy. I want a real adjuster that's been trained to identify damage because I'm bringing a roofer out now and we're going to get some pictures taken. So roofer comes out, takes his picture, ladder assist comes out. Again, they deny it. Roofer sends in his stuff. Again, they deny it. Then I get a PA involved. And so the PA comes out, and we didn't sign a contract. He's just a PA. He's doing it out of the kindness of his heart. So he writes up a whole report. We send it to him, still denied. So I called Derek. And I said, hey, Derek, I understand that you have some kind of new product out there that I want to really brag about if it's actually as good as you say it is. I need the report on my house. He goes, I'll take care of it. It's going to take a couple weeks. I'm like, cool. And this whole time, they've been very on top of it with Allstate. Within a day or two of contact, they contact me back, the whole bit. So I get this report back, and I see it first, right? Like you emailed it to me. I see it first. I'm like, holy cow, this thing's like 25 pages long. And I start reading through it. And I'm like, what? Microburst? What's going on there? And the thing from Allstate was, well, we don't have any wind reports of winds high enough to do anything except for 8 miles away. So that doesn't apply to you, right? And I went, no, that's not accurate. So the meteorologist does this whole thing, signs off on it. I believe it even says something where is willing to be expert on this particular thing.
Right.
So I get that, and I go, okay, cool. I call him and say, hey, I've got a report, that I got taken care of on my house from an actual meteorologist that does this kind of stuff, and I'm going to send it to you. I expect to hear something. So I send it to him. Radio silent. I couldn't even get him on the phone. I tried to call him twice. Nobody would. They'll call me back, right? For a month, nothing happens. I'm like, what the world is going on here? Then all of a sudden, a check shows up. Just boop, like out of the blue. Like no call.
As one does, you don't call, you just send a check.
Which had some paperwork with it, which wasn't accurate, of course. Delayed and I defend that all set stuff. And forgive me, anybody that is against this. I'm sharing my experience as a homeowner, not as somebody in this industry. So I had to go through the whole thing with my roofer, get all the pricing worked out, deck person, metal building, all this stuff, get it all put together. And so literally how I feel as a policyholder is that I had to do all the work to get what was actually owed to me, paid to me, so that I could get my house repaired back to the way it was before the storm. Which seems backwards. Seems like they should do all the work. That's what they signed on for. That's the contract that they have for me to indemnify me for the damages to my property. It's very frustrating. And if I didn't have the knowledge I have and the contacts I have, where would that have gone for 99% of other homeowners? And I think that's the game that gets played out there. So to explain the difference between the certified report and this forensic report thing that I got.
Oh, okay. So you actually got a certified report. So you got what we call the big boy report. So the forensic report is taken. Our client actually calls them the check cutter, which is funny.
I was like, what? The check just showed up.
So the forensic report, it takes a date. It would take your date and your address, and one of our meteorologists would go just download the radar data. They'd go through it frame by frame and say, okay, I can determine from this data that I have that 1.5 inch hail occurred at this property on, you say March 5th, whatever the day is. Takes them anywhere between an hour to 2 hours to do that report. Pretty cut and dry, but they're experts in their field, so they're looking and they are pulling information from a lot of places, a lot of data, but they're saying here, this is what happened. Now that's not what would be considered like a court ready report. So in the court ready world or the expert witness world, there's a thing called the Daubert standard, and there's a laundry list of things that an expert report for any industry has to meet. So there's like 50 standards, and forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm shooting from the hip on this, but there's a checklist of things that each report, regardless of the industry, has to meet the criteria for. And so what we've done is we've taken that criteria and we said, okay, we're going to have this report meet that criteria. And so it's different in the sense from the forensic report, takes a couple hours. This report, it literally does take one person, a week to 2 weeks to go through, and they're going through everything, and they pour basically their life over a 2 week period into this report to come up with a determination of what occurred at this place. And our perspective is interesting because we're at neutral third party in the sense that we just want accurate information. If it hailed at the property, we're going to tell you. If you give us something and it didn't hail or there wasn't severe weather at that property, we're going to tell you that too. But if our expert in this field makes a determination, like there's a 100% chance that claim is getting paid out, because at this point we are batting 1,000 for you baseball fans on these reports that we've done. Just because of the research. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good average. But what we have to think about though is our credibility, and we have to determine, can we do this report? Clearly, we thought that we could do your report, and I mean, clearly it worked out for you.
Well, there was you had to take a thing into consideration. I kind of know my game too, right? So I visually could see damage. I knew what it looked like before that. I had visual damage to steel, right? So that's an obvious indicator. I'm also Hague certified. I have an adjuster's license. Like, I've had training for years, which most homeowners wouldn't, but whoever they have representing them, whether it be a PA, a educated contractor, or an attorney, should have those eyes to go, hey, yeah, this is either obvious or not. And if it's obvious, there's no better investment than that report, as far as I'm concerned. There's some cost to it. I remember I was like, yeah, this is significant. It wasn't crazy considering, okay, I'm going to spend $600 or $800 or whatever the number was. I can't remember what it was. It's about a $35,000 claim to my house. It's worth every penny, considering that my other choice is to walk away and just have the damage and be replacing my roof in 2 or 3 years anyway. Yeah.
Well, I think that's, and this is just my experience talking to people. I'm a homeowner too, so I understand this as well. Just from a policyholder, like a policy with an insurance company, there is a very covenantal aspect to it. And like, I'm not trying to get too biblical here, but like in ancient Israel and ancient like Mesopotamia, all those places, like the covenant that was made between people was very binding in a sense that, like, if something happens, even if it's not your fault, like, I will, because I've agreed to this covenant, will take care of my end. And so if you look at the policy that you sign with somebody like an insurance company, I'm paying you every month and I'm up to date and I've never miss a payment. And then you come out and your job, at least from my perspective, is to make me whole again, because that's what I'm paying you for. I'm paying you to insure my assets. So if something happens, you have agreed to make me whole if something does happen in our contract or covenant, however you want to look at it. You've agreed to that. And so it is interesting that isn't always the case for people. And to your point, 99% of people would have just said, I don't have the time or energy to go through this. I'm just gonna walk away and cut my losses and say, okay, I get better luck next time, I guess. And that can be sad.
It's
to think about.
It's the whole reason I'm willing to put this out there today and say who my insurance company was, because it was my actual experience. My experience with the actual desk adjusters and everything, awful. I've had, 5 or 7 different ones throughout the whole entire time. Nobody knows what the one previous was doing. I mean, I can't understand how they can even effectively run their claims department without any continuity at all. It's been beyond frustrating. And so I'm sitting there going, myself as a pretty, what I would consider educated person on this entire process and how it goes, if that's how it went for me, what is everybody else doing? And I don't think they're doing well with it.
And to your point, where we come into this space is like, sometimes we have to say, no, nothing happened. And that can be a hard conversation because it's not
fair. If nothing happened, nothing happened.
That's not the expected outcome. Like if a contractor comes in saying, hey, this is what I expected to happen from this, and we're here going, I could tell you what happened according to the data we have, and sometimes that's there was nothing there on that date, so that stinks. But if that's the case, okay, we just want to be accurate and correct, and sometimes that does mean saying this didn't happen. But if it happened and we can prove it, we're gonna to take the steps to do that, and we're going to provide
Yeah,
the
and I
the
would
report
say
that
if
says
I
that.
got that report back and said, "Hey, nothing happened," I would have accepted responsibility for missing something that may have happened before I wasn't home or whatever. Like I just didn't know. Although I did get the other reports from you guys saying there were these other storms that happened at these times, but this was the storm that did this damage.
Right.
I would have just accepted. I would have been like, okay, well, I can sleep easy at least, right?
Yeah.
So
You did your due diligence.
those are the things that I don't think people know about Hailtrace that they probably should. I mean, it's
Well,
amazing how valuable.
it's still a relatively new product. We're about 170 reports in, and the scalability of it is a big issue because like we don't want to take on too much. And
Well, I'm thinking about charging it to the insurance company. They made me do it.
Sure. Oh, okay. That's fair. That that's a conversation for somebody else who knows.
Oh,
how
yeah,
that
I'm
would
going to
work
have
out.
that conversation with them. Don't worry.
That's a good. I mean, that's a good point. Like, I mean, it's all. I think just from a PA or an attorney standpoint, like you've got things that you say, okay, this happened because this. So you are going to be responsible for this line item. Surely that's within the realm of possibilities there.
Oh, I was fully prepared to take all the next steps. I thought they would still keep me from being wholly taken care of. And I happen to know an attorney or two in this industry as well. So it might have been
just one or two.
Just one or two. But most homeowners don't. And that's the sad thing is like they just don't know what the next steps are. They're not educated. And I believe that's our responsibility as contractors, not to be their attorney, not to be their PA, but to be their educator to go, hey, these are your next steps and this is what you might need to do. Now,
yeah.
When it comes to your clients and they're dealing with things like that, do you guys help them with any of that as well?
Help them,
like do you connect them to good people doing the right thing in those arenas?
In some cases, we have made some connections, but typically the way, and I can't speak to how everybody at Hailtrace does this, but typically in my experience, I will give them people that I, one, have a personal relationship with, two, I know do good work, and three, I'm going to give them multiple sources. Like let's take supplementing for example. I'll give Greg Merhalter. I'll give Jonah Story down in Florida, and then I'll give balance claims. Hey, any of these three people, depending on what you're actually trying to accomplish, are going to be good people to talk to. They all kind of do specialize in different things, but those three entities are a great bet for you. But I've found with as many people as I know, if I am just going, here's the guy, use this guy, eventually somebody's going to go, hey, why didn't you recommend me? And I
have two or three resources on each one too. Like
the roofing contractor is the worst. Like, why didn't you recommend me to be the roofer? So I just I don't know. Roofing contractor, I'll give you here's 10. I'll give you 10.
Well, I got that from because when my house got hit 2 years ago, right? Or 3 years ago now. And I self-inspected, went, no damage. Nothing happened to it. I had one hail hit on the whole thing. I'm not going to go through the rigmarole for that. And nobody knocked on my door the entire time, like for months. Nobody ever. So this storm happens on March 5th. Again, nobody knocks on my door at all for a couple, I don't know, probably 3 months. And finally somebody knocked on my door. And I was so happy. I was like, my wife called me. She goes, they're here. They're knocking on the door. She's at the house and I'm here at the office. I was so happy. You know why I was so happy?
What was that?
It was one of my clients.
Oh, nice.
That was so cool to see. I'll shout them out. Rhino Roofers out of San Antonio, Texas. Because I had people go like, why didn't you tell me your house got hit by hail? Because I'm waiting for you to do what we've coached you to do, like to go out and approach us, right? And so
that's the old teach men to fish versus giving them a fish kind of.
Yeah, nobody can get mad at me over that one. It's like, hey, he was the first one to the door. I've told people before that nobody's knocked on my door, and still nobody's on my door. And it's a hard neighborhood to knock. Don't get me wrong. Our houses are 2 to 5 acres. So you're not going to go walking through that neighborhood. You're going to drive a truck up into people's driveways and stuff. And he did. And he took the chance and got the business. And I can't wait for them to do the work. This industry, I love what you guys do because you give the contractor and the consumer validation for what happened to their home. Either way, whether something happened or something didn't, at least there's this third party out there going, yeah, it's not just this battle between a contractor and an insurance company. If I was a homeowner listening to this, and this would be something I might send my homeowners to listen to, is I would be looking for that company that has this third party out there saying, yeah, look, I have proof. It's right here. It's not just my mouth talking to you. I think that's a massive thing that gives validity to what you guys do.
Well, two, we also, like, I would argue that like insurance companies should want to use a service like ours because accuracy is super important to us. We have a bunch of scientists that work for us. And so understanding where, like, if I know my clients as an insurance company were impacted by the storm, but I also know which ones weren't, that's going to help me like navigate this whole cat event. If it's a cat event, it's going to help me navigate this whole thing and be more precise with what I'm determining might happen, and then figuring out what I actually need to pay out and what I actually need to do here and there. So like from an accuracy standpoint, like we fit in to the whole scope because it really is just, did it hail or not? Yes, it's a yes or no question. So from what I said earlier, like a neutral third party that really we are just fine telling people, hey, didn't hail on that day. Sorry, your house didn't have hail on that specific day. We can't help you. Or I can't put together a report that says it did.
We can't make it happen. It just either did or didn't. Hey, Matt, this has been an awesome conversation. I hope people have learned a little bit more about what Hailtrace does. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you haven't gotten involved with Hailtrace, you need to get a hold of Matt Grassmeyer. The dude genuinely wants to help you. He's a good human being as much as he is a good advocate for Hailtrace. Matt, how do they get a hold of you?
I mean, I think I'm on social media, Facebook. I mean, cell phone is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
To share it with us. Come on, put it out there. Put it out there on the podcast.
405-531-2662. And I'll say this, if they come to me and they said, hey, I heard about you from Jim Johnson, I'll give them the Jim Johnson discount, 10% off an annual plan.
Wow.
Like no questions asked. I know Jim Johnson. We'll give him the Jim Johnson discount.
Well, I said I have 2 or 3 people that I send, and whatever, right? Not when it comes to this. I send everybody to Hailtrace. I believe in what you guys do. There's a few others out there like Company Cam. I send everybody to Company Cam. I send everybody to Hailtrace. I send everybody to Real Voice and Engage and those type of things. It's just, I believe in what you guys do, and I believe you have the best product, and I believe you have the best service. And you get what you pay for.
We think so.
I think.
100%.
So there I am. I'm putting my name out there as a true believer in Hailtrace, not just because I'm friends with them. I got a report. I had the experience myself. I coach people to it all the time. If you're not using Hailtrace and you think, hey, man, I know where the hail is, I don't need that stuff, you can be so much more optimized and effective if you have it. It more than pays for itself, usually in the first day or 2 after a storm. So it's a no-brainer. And that's why that's why I'm so much on board. It's kind of like a Company Cam, no brainer. Like, why in the world would I not have it?
Company Cam, completely biased because I work for Hailtrace. But if somebody were to say, what's the one app, if you could only pick one, what's the one app you should get as a contractor? I always say Company Cam. That's not in my best interest either. Like, but Company Cam it's the real deal. That's a legit app that everybody needs to use.
Yeah.
So shout out to Company Cam. You guys want to send me some stuff? I'm open. You guys know my address.
We got Hailtrace, we got Company Cam, and we got Rilla, Engage. Who am I missing? Somebody I'm missing out there. And Rhino Roofers. We got all of them in this podcast. Everybody should strive to be like Rhino Roofers if they can.
Engage, yes, Engage. Like if you get Engaged, like you get a free Chuck Toki slideshow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Like you get that with your plan. That's insane. Like, why wouldn't you use that?
Yeah, it's the tools and technology that are out there. When you put them together in the right order and at the right time, you can just be killer in this industry and a real pro. Like that's what I'm looking for on my home. My wife went through the experience with the roofer. I wasn't able to be there because it would happen like while I was at work. And she said he was Johnny on the spot. He knew exactly all the stuff. He used all the things. He just did it right. I'm like, that is so cool to hear because she knows the whole process too.
Moment. Yeah, that's a proud moment for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm like super excited. Like they're doing what we coach. So we always hope that they do. The more they do, the better they do. It seems like. Hey, Matt, it's been an awesome conversation with you. I look forward to seeing what you accomplish for the outside sales part of what Hailtrace does, because I agree with you. I think 80% of the contractors out there don't even know you exist. And if they do, they haven't ever pulled the trigger because they're just waiting on somebody to call them. It's like, man, I've kind of been thinking about it, but I never, I've just got busy. Right. And I bet you get that one. Hey, I got busy and I kind of forgot about it. Thanks for calling.
That happens all the time.
Perfect.
Like, great. Let's go.
So if you don't call him, I'm going to put all of his contact information in the show notes and how to get a hold of him. I'll put his email and everything in there as well. But if you don't call him and he calls you, take the call. It's worth it. Matt, thanks for being on there.
Well, I appreciate you again. I'm so honored to be second time on the show. I love it. I always love talking to you. So thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm a 2-timer. So
I can't wait till I have people join the 5-time club. And I'll be a little bit like Saturday Night Live.
Ooh.
Let's see nice. You guys like smoking jackets or something. So
love it.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. That was Matt Grassmeyer with Hailtrace. He gave a cell number there at the end. We'll get that in the show notes. My team is really good about doing that. We'll get his email address in there as well. But seriously, if you do any kind of roofing work in an area that might get storm damage, whether that be hail, hurricane, tornado, wind, those type of things, Hailtrace is your resource to optimize each one of those opportunities, and I would not pass it by if I was you. And if you're looking for one person in particular to work with you, I don't know anybody over there at Hailtrace other than maybe Derek, who owns it, that cares more about the success of Hailtrace than Matt Grassmeyer and the success of you as the contractor. And he takes that seriously. It's why I had him on the show. He is a good human being that he is there to serve you and see you do well first. And if you want to be his client, that'd be great. And the reason I like that so much, because that's kind of the way we are too. That's what we're all about. How can we serve you well? And if it fit, great. If not, at least we served you well. Go check us out at Contractor Coach Pro. We help contractors lead their businesses better so they can grow and scale them, so they can achieve those personal and financial dreams and the freedom they were looking for whenever they started their business. Thanks for being with us on this episode of Contractor Radio, and we'll catch you on the next one.